You guys know what time it is. Get strapped in and ready for some good times. This is the Blowed Out Podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's your favorite fatty with a natty. Coming to you, as always, from beautiful northern Utah. Little wet today. Just so you know. It did some damn work in the last 24 hours. Said it put down over 3.2 inches of water here in the northern end of Ogden. Good Lord. I know it flooded a bunch of stuff and apparently made me eat my words on the fact that all the rain had skipped over us and all we were left with was fires. Well, at the end of the day, we certainly needed it. Perhaps not all at once, but we certainly needed the moisture. You know what I didn't need, and which probably goes along with you guys needing to know this, but I made reference to my little mailing adventure with Cologuard. Turns out, apparently they were listening because they did send me another one. It wasn't because I made mention of them. Turns out you can send too much, which, I feel like they should put a, do not go past here line or something. So I just got to do that again. That was fun. Maybe the whole mail-in thing just wasn't in my cards, and I should have just opted for the camera instead. Christ. Apparently I can't win with this thing. Speaking of pieces of shit, I suppose we need to talk about the topic of the day here on this Wednesday. Sad. I'm sure most of you, or if not all of you, already know that what I would refer to, unpopularly, I'm sure, as a piece of shit, a coward, decided to shoot up a Catholic school this morning. Not okay. I mean, obviously, but come on, man. Really? The big thing, or there's a lot of things, sorry. Let me start that over. One of the biggest things for me is that this person, we'll just leave it at that, apparently decided to politicize and all kinds of other things, and this is straight from the news source, described her fascination with violence and obsession with mass shootings, particularly those who attack schools, discussed suicide, depression, and her own racism and the particulars of carrying out a mass shooting, along with writing things on the weapons and magazines, including racial slurs, a call for President Trump's death, anti-Semitic messages, and references to the Holocaust and the Catholic Church. So, again, we've already established this coward piece of shit decided to do this and then unalive themselves before there could be any repercussions or consequences. My question is, what do any of those things have to do with a bunch of poor little kids and a couple of old nuns, perhaps, or parishioners? Like, why? On what planet does that make any sense? What do those folks have to do with anything? And if you're not even going to, if you're going to do it to try and make a statement, at least stick around, you dirt pile. And this is something that I have a hard time with, because I want to go full ham and say a bunch of way worse things. But I realize that, this person had a family who sadly didn't realize that they were facilitating a lot of this, I assume. So that's sad. On top of all the poor families, the other families who have been tragically affected by these events, whose lives will never be the same. People who lost children to this senseless act of violence in the name of, again, politics and mental illness probably is just the best way to sum it up. But again, senseless. I will never be able to wrap my head around this. Or any of them, for that matter. But this one, there's pictures floating around of the stuff that was written on the magazines and written on... My God. Like, this has gone too far. The politicizing of things, the starting things on fire, whatever, fires and riots and everything else, and shootings, and God forbid, to what end? Like, what did you think this was going to solve? It was going to make a horrific statement and destroy lives in the name of something that isn't going to change because you did it. It goes the same for me with the Epstein file thing. I have now effectively been diagnosed with Epstein file fatigue. You guys know me, and all of us here, anyone who's been on the show, we do not take child endangerment or sexual predators, or, let's call them out, chomos, lightly. However, everyone who is still completely ate up with the Epstein files being released, I pose the question of, what does it matter? And I really mean that. And everybody, I've had a lot of feedback, and people say, well, it's because it will expose the chomos, or, it will expose. Everybody already knows most of the people on that list. You pick basically pretty much anyone famous or anyone in politics for a very long time, we already know they're on the list. It's not a big secret. It's going to end up like Diddy's list, and it's just everybody. And that's not a big secret. Everybody already knows this. And nothing is going to change once there's this said list. None of them are going to pay for it. None of them are going to be prosecuted or put away, or nothing is going to change. And we all know this. Because every administration, for probably longer than we've been alive, is probably on that list, or at least some part of said administration. I've said it 1,000,000 times. They're all dirtbag criminals. They're all crooked. They're all shit. So even if they release the stupid list, what's it going to do? Give you the ammo to go, ha, told you. I told you. I told you he was on there. Okay. I already knew. Everybody already knows. It's not going to change anything. So for the love of God, why don't we focus on other shit? Like These things aren't being stopped or changed or anything else because of a list or because, whatever we decide to allow another letter into the alphabet mafia. None of those things are going to change any of this. It's the same, obviously not apples and apples, but isn't it kind of the same logic as outlawing guns? Now, bear with me here, because we all know, every single person on this planet knows, that outlawing guns is not going to stop people from obtaining guns and committing crimes with them. It just won't. It never has, it never will. You can say that an AK-47 is illegal in all 50 states. Guess what that's going to stop? That's going to stop someone from walking into a store and purchasing one legally. Most of these weapons, I shouldn't say most, but a fair amount of these weapons that are being used in school shootings or mass shootings or whatever aren't necessarily obtained legally. All the guns in Mexico or Latin or Southern America that are mowing down people, hundreds of thousands of people a year, are illegal. So what did that stop? Apparently not a damn thing. So none of these things, there is no cohesiveness. It doesn't stop anything. It's not going to stop anybody from being a psychopath. It's not going to stop, mental illness or someone deciding that they're going to make a statement. They're going to change things. Okay, how? It certainly isn't with the tactics you have tried or anyone has tried or the tactics you're thinking about. It's just not. Just like the list isn't going to change anything, just like it's all... And I even got another person coming at me that said, well, that's why they need to be all exposed, or they all need to be exposed, so that we can get rid of them and vote in new ones. Oh yeah, because that's worked out so well in the last, 250 plus years? Because God knows every administration is better than the last one, right? Or that every administration prior to the one we have now was better. Now, there are some that were, of course. But just like last time, and just like the time before, and the time before that, and you can say it until you're purple in the damn face, most of it comes down to the lesser of two evils. It's not because either of them are good. They're all shite. They're all going to continue to be shite. Politics are for shitty people. Typically. Now, I'm not talking about, local level, small town, council people in your city. I'm not saying they're all garbage. I'm saying high-level politicians, Congress, Senate, presidents. Name me one good one. Yep, yeah. That's what I thought. They all had something. They all want that power, and it's for some bullshit agenda, and it's never in the interests or the best interests or what it's supposed to be. They're all crooks, and that's never going to stop being a thing. That's just not, drain the swamp, vote in better ones. Okay, well, that's what we try every time. And we end up with the same thing. The same damn thing. It's just not how it works. And I don't know why anyone still thinks that there's hope or that it's going to be different next time. Don't get me wrong. I'm typically an optimist. I'm all for hope. I hope tomorrow's going to be a better day. But I'm also a realist and go, it's probably going to be the same damn day or the same damn thing, but I'm willing to try again. But again, find me where it hasn't. Go back as far as you like. I even got told today on social media that we had the choice to vote in a smart, beautiful color of person instead. And I said, who? Because color of person? Yes. Person of color. Good Lord. Beautiful? More than a lot. Absolutely. Sure. I could name names, but I won't. But you lost me at smart. You really did. And I don't know, I guess, technically, anybody that stuck with me clearly doesn't swing horrifically left, or I assume think that the person that they were referring to, and we all know who, was smart. Just like the other one that goes by initials. To say that person is smart is, my God, that is a stretch like Armstrong. And please, without conspiracy theories or any other mainstream media rhetoric, I dare you to prove me otherwise. Sorry, I definitely got a little sidetracked there, but you guys know that's just what I do. The end of the day, thoughts and prayers and whatever works best for you goes out to the families and folks affected by this. I try to be a decent human, so obviously I would never wish that anyone would want to take their own life. So please, reach out, get some help if those are the thoughts you're having. But for the love of God, don't involve anybody else, in your departure. That's not okay. That's uncalled for. Reach out, get some help. Shit, email me, call me. I'll talk to you all day long. But it's not okay to drag little kids and just innocent folks into your premeditated departure. It's just not. And it's sad, and I'm sorry it happened, and I guess I'm just out of things to say about that without just repeating myself. Anyhow, what I was thinking earlier while I was listening to all this unfolding is, obviously, God forbid that anyone ever have to go through something like this. But I also thought to myself, rather, that if I were me, and knowing me, and I was in a position where something like that started to happen, I pray to God that I never have to pull my weapon on another human ever again. But if some shit like that is going down, I assure you I will not hesitate. I don't want to, but I certainly will. And I implore anyone else to also, if it is necessary. If and only if. Other than that, I pray to God, like I said, that no one ever has to. But we all know in these crazy-ass times that may or may not be the case. And again, I surely hope it isn't, but if it ever does, I won't be the one hesitating. Sorry. Just maybe note to anyone writing a manifesto. FYI. I won't. Because if it's my family or my loved ones or me or someone else, and I'm sure I speak for everyone here, I will absolutely put myself in front of my family as I'm actively trying to take out whatever threat it may be. And I won't quit until my family or my loved ones or whoever I'm trying to protect is safe. And if that means that I got 30 holes in me, well, I'm a big target, so bring it on. Just, like I said, I hope nobody does. I really don't want it to come to that, but just, head on a swivel, guys. I've said it a million times. So I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be back soon. Are you a business owner or marketing director for your company? Would you like to explore the potential benefits of advertising on the show? The Blowed Out podcast currently reaches listeners in over 104 cities spread across 13 countries worldwide. To explore advertising options, including budgeting and frequency, email us at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com and be sure to include marketing in the subject line. And just like that, we're back, y'all. Who actually still eats at Cracker Barrel? Like, that was also in the news. I'm sure most of you know. Rebranding, or changing their logo, trying to go woke, and then, just like the rest of them, fairly immediately, in my opinion, turn around and go, hey, you know what? Yeah, maybe we jumped the gun. Yeah, after your stock went in the toilet. But again, who goes to Cracker Barrel? Like, weren't they pretty much already dying on the vine? And I saw something that this woman, the CEO, or I don't know, president, or whatever she is, I assume CEO, is the same woman that got rid of a bunch of stuff at Taco Bell. Come on, man. Nobody goes to Cracker Barrel. Just let it go. But I love the fact that it's the same old thing. Like, why are these companies still thinking that now, several years later, going woke is still a good idea? Like, just leave it the hell alone. There was nothing wrong with Aunt Jemima. There was nothing wrong with all the rest of them. Just, good Lord, who cares? Also, and I'm sure I think I mentioned it before, Aunt Jemima was a total success story. It was some idiot who thought it was, we should take the poor old black lady off the label. No, that's the poor old black lady who was a total win story. Just knock it off, guys. Have they learned nothing over the past half a dozen years? Come on, just let it go. Meanwhile, the stock market's up, at least today. Gold's down a hair, but it's still way more than I've ever. It's a lot. Just shy of $3,500 an ounce. Good Lord. So to go down $5 or $6 is not that big of a deal. It's still a ton, y'all. I don't get it. There's just so much junk, and like, you just scroll through everything, and man, I wish I had some more jokes. I mean, there's always jokes. All you gotta do is look. There's a joke in every damn thing on the news, but my God, most of it just writes itself. You don't even have to come up with anything funny. Just read it and you'll be laughing. I'm not gonna lie. I just closed the other computer because it's all just shite, guys. You already know this, I assume. It's all just shite. Especially, and this, I guess, kind of circles back. I was thinking about this. I did want to mention it. this whole thing with like this school shooting, and it isn't necessarily about that, but this person, sorry to circle clear back, I'm trying to adjust, this chair hurts my buns, but supposedly this person, I don't know if they were transitioning or just identifying since 2017, I don't know, but let's go ahead and presume that they are going to claim they've been bullied and, all this stuff, which I'm sure is probably true. I don't doubt that a bit. We've all been bullied. I don't know a single person alive that hasn't been bullied in some way, shape, or form, mostly when they were a kid or a teenager. I don't know. I guess I'm a calloused asshole because part of me goes, you know what? Suck it up. That's just part of life. However, I have been seeing on a lot of social media a few fellers, mostly, and that's just because that's the ones that I've seen pop up. I'm sure there's plenty of women also. But as a large person, your fatty with a natty is actively trying to drop a few lbs. Especially working our way into fall, my knees and my ankles and everything else are pissed. I mean, they're hashed, and they got screws in them, or they've been rebuilt, or they're just trashed in one way or another, but it certainly doesn't help to carry all the weight. The rock solid 312 pounds that I am. It's still a lot. All right, maybe not rock solid, and maybe not 312, but it's my story and I'm sticking to it. Anyhow, what I was getting at is that these folks that I keep seeing on social media that are giving it hell, like I said, I'm joining those ranks. I mean, I ain't trying to go all cray-cray and get down to 200 pounds, because, let's be honest, I haven't been 200 pounds since I was in kindergarten. I've been giant my whole life, which is kind of why I've always embraced it. Maybe not embrace it, but I feel like it's definitely the reason I'm a sarcastic bastard and I have pretty thick skin, even if it's not as thick as I like to think it is. But, so I'm joining these ranks, and these dudes, like I said, that's just the ones that I've seen, or there's a couple in particular that I'm referring to, not saying that's the only ones, are big fellers, bigger than me by a lot, and they're working their asses off, and I'm sure a lot of you know who I'm talking about. The one kid, I call them kids because they're all at this point younger than me, but the one kid's a big ginger kid, and they're doing it all natural, just putting in work and everything else. It floors me the amount of just dickheads who can't wait to just rip them down. I'm a sarcastic bastard. I'm an ass. I'll say shit for the sake of thinking I'm being funny. But man, when it's literally just putting somebody else's face in the dirt, I don't necessarily say, if I'm saying it to your face, I'm busting your balls to your face, it's because I like you. You're one of my peeps. But if it's just a random person, I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to say anything to your face that's damaging. But the comments and some of the stuff, these guys are just getting beat down in the comments. And I don't understand it, because these guys are just moving mountains and hitting milestones that are awesome. Like I said, the redheaded kid, I don't know his name, so I apologize. The other one that's always hitting the punching bag, I think Zach or Zachary. Man, you guys please, God, and everyone that's trying, please keep up the good work. You're doing amazing. You got to start somewhere. And like I said, these guys are putting in way more work than me, and people are just beating them down, and I don't understand that. I do understand that that's sadly just the society we have become. But we are going to continue spiraling downward, not only for a lot of reasons, but as a society, if we continue to just bash people when they're down. I talk a lot of shit. Like I said, I'll talk shit for the sake of laughs, or sarcasm, and I've said it a million times. It's just jokes. I said the other day we had a big fire, another big fire here in Ogden yesterday or the day before, and it was down in the rail yard, and it was a bunch of big, like plastic culvert pipe. It was right next to the kind of wooded area along the river, and somebody said, "Well, how did it start?" And I said, "Well, it's probably the damn bums." But because A, it's probably true. B, that's just like how my brain has worked for the last 50 years. I would never walk up to a homeless, an unhoused person, and say, "Jesus, you filthy bum, get your ass up and get the hell off my park strip, you filthy bum." Now, granted, I may kick them off the park strip or ask them to leave, but I'm not going to just kick him in the teeth and call him a bum on top of that. Like I said, these guys, that have lost 120 pounds just by putting in work, people are just like, better call 911 because, 3, 2, 1 to a heart attack. I mean, just wild stuff, and that has to stop. And I say this, something along these lines every time, I realize that, but at some point we have to realize that everybody at some point hits a low. And again, I'm guilty. I'm absolutely guilty. I'm not saying that I'm not, but I try to be consciously aware that I'm doing it and not, or, catch myself in that line of thinking before it actually comes out of my mouth. Doesn't always work, but I do try. At the end of the day, we're all we have. That's it. Our dogs love us, sure, and but what else is there? Our pets and our peeps. People, sorry. That sounded bad right at the last minute. But we can't just continue to just beat everyone into submission. And then when it's our turn, look around and go, what the hell? What the hell? No, really, nobody's going to help me out, Now I'm just a piece of shit because there's nobody around. Well, you got to give to receive. But, like I said, eventually, some of that crazy math, those super Wookiee guys, the super Wookiee math guys that go, okay, well, if 3 people do it, then, blah, 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 and all of a sudden now it's 3.3 million people within 6 degrees or whatever it is are now all beat down because those 3 people, did those 3 people, and those 3 people did 3 people a piece, and eventually there's going to be no one left. And it's just not ever going to get any better. And again, I apologize for kind of sounding like a broken record, but at the end of the day, with all the other shit going on, we can't afford to lose humanity on top of everything else. We just can't. There's way too much other horse shit going on with, that overshadows all of that we've got to try and be at least half decent to one another. Just got to. It was an awful segue, but I just realized that I had completely forgotten since the last time we spoke. There was a big to-do north of here, about maybe 30 miles-ish, in Tremont. Speaking of trying to be good to one another, another psycho that was beating on his wife, apparently for, probably the 300th time or something, which, gross, and I will never, ever get behind. You cannot come up with a reason for me to advocate that. You guys know I'm absolutely against that with every fiber of my being also. But since he knew he was probably going to prison because he had several felony counts of domestic violence and was on a protective order to not go near the house, he decided to sadly kill a couple of cops and shoot another sheriff and his canine in the process, like pop shots out of a window. My God. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned it sooner because now it feels like that was an awful segue, but this again goes back to what I mean. We cannot keep this behavior up. I mean, it's awful, and again, my thoughts and prayers and everything go out to those families that are affected. This is a small community, way smaller than the one I live in. For those of you who know or don't know Northern Utah, I mean, it affected a lot of people and it cut deep. Not that they all don't, but good Lord. Like, it has to stop. It just has to. I realize that in a world of whatever 7 billion or whatever the hell we're up to now, 8 billion, that these types of things happen, but it doesn't make it okay. It's gross. It's gross, and it has to stop. And I know I ping pong all over and ramble. Oh, speaking of ping pong, rest in peace, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Also, today is the anniversary of his death. And rest in peace, anyone else who today or yesterday or tomorrow or just everybody. It's too much. But unfortunately, that's why we have to try and laugh, because if we don't, we'll cry, and can't dwell on it, or we'll just end up like What About Bob and not want to leave the house ever for any reason. So just got to try and do better. But anyhow, like usual, I'm going to get out your guys' hair. Feel like that's enough rambling for this week. As always, if you want to reach out, comments, death threats, questions, whatever, blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com or on social media. Feel free to reach out. I usually check everything multiple times a day if I'm not on there actively. Hope you guys are still enjoying it. I sure appreciate you all listening in all the countries and all the cities around the globe. Look forward to talking to you guys next time. In the meantime, try and be good to one another as much as you can, and stay safe. We'll talk to you guys soon. Love you guys. Cheers.